In today's world, where technology intertwines deeply with our daily lives, huge questions have been raised about privacy and security. What happens when governments overstep those boundaries? Amidst this debate, one name stands out: Edward Snowden, the man who exposed the largest surveillance scandal in modern history. His story is not just about someone revealing secrets, but about the challenges we all face in the digital age, where privacy conflicts with security and freedom clashes with surveillance. Was Snowden a hero or a traitor? Let's dive into this complex and captivating story.
Edward Joseph Snowden was born on June 21, 1983, in North Carolina, USA. Raised in a disciplined family with a father who worked in the U.S. Navy and a mother who worked in the federal courts, Snowden's interest in technology began at an early age. At 12 years old, he started learning programming, fascinated by how systems worked and curious about the vast world of digital technology. By the time he reached his teens, his fascination with computers turned into a passion for cybersecurity. This drive would eventually lead him to work for one of the most powerful intelligence agencies in the world, the NSA. In 2004, Snowden began working for Dell, a company that provided support for U.S. government contractors. Soon after, he moved to work directly with the National Security Agency, NSA, one of the largest and most secretive intelligence agencies globally, focused on digital surveillance and national security. It was here that Snowden became involved in the development of some of the most sophisticated programs used to monitor and analyze global communications. Over time, he became increasingly disillusioned as he realized that the surveillance programs he was working on were being used to monitor not just foreign threats, but ordinary citizens, including Americans. His growing concerns about the ethical implications of this surveillance would eventually lead to a decision that would change his life, and the world's, forever. In 2012, Snowden began to uncover the full extent of the NSA's mass surveillance programs. Among the most alarming was PRISM, a program that allowed the NSA to access massive amounts of data from major tech companies like Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, Facebook, and Apple. These programs weren't just targeting foreign enemies, they were collecting personal data from millions of people, including ordinary citizens, with little or no oversight. The information collected included emails, phone calls, chat logs, and even browsing history, all in real time, without any public knowledge or consent. Upon realizing the scale of this operation, Snowden's conscience pushed him to take action. In 2013, Snowden made the bold decision to leak the documents revealing these secret programs to the press. He gathered hundreds of classified files detailing the NSA's global surveillance efforts, knowing that once the truth was out, there would be no turning back. Snowden reached out to investigative journalists Glenn Greenwald and Laura Poitras, sharing the documents with The Guardian and The Washington Post. The leak exposed the shocking scope of the NSA's spying operations, which included monitoring phone conversations, emails, and online activities of millions of people, both in the U.S. and worldwide. This moment marked the beginning of a global conversation about privacy, government power, and the dangers of unchecked surveillance. When the documents were published in June 2013, the revelations were earth-shattering. The public learned that the NSA was not just spying on suspected terrorists, but also on its allies, including leaders like German Chancellor Angela Merkel and other world leaders. The scandal revealed that the U.S. government had been conducting secret surveillance on people and governments around the world, with no regard for privacy. These disclosures sparked global outrage, with people questioning whether the trade-off between security and privacy had gone too far. Governments worldwide began demanding answers, and the U.S. found itself in the midst of an international crisis. Once the documents were released, Snowden became a target for the U.S. government. They quickly charged him with theft and espionage, seeking his extradition for leaking classified information. Fearing for his safety, Snowden fled to Hong Kong, hoping for temporary asylum. However, under intense pressure from the U.S., Hong Kong decided to allow his departure. Snowden then sought refuge in Russia, where he was granted temporary asylum. Despite living in exile, he continued to speak out against mass surveillance and advocate for digital privacy rights. Since his revelations, Snowden has been at the center of a fierce debate. To some, he is a whistleblower and a hero, someone who risked everything to expose government overreach and protect personal freedoms. To others, he is a traitor, someone who jeopardized national security and exposed sensitive intelligence that could put lives at risk. The public remains divided, and the question of whether Snowden did the right thing continues to provoke debate among lawmakers, activists, and citizens alike. His case raises the fundamental issue of how much surveillance is acceptable in a democracy, and where the line should be drawn between national security and personal freedom. Snowden's revelations triggered significant changes in the way governments approach surveillance and privacy. In the U.S., Congress was forced to reconsider and reform many of the NSA's surveillance programs, and significant changes were made to the Patriot Act, particularly its provisions on bulk data collection. In Europe, Snowden's disclosures led to the implementation of stronger data protection laws, including the General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR, which set stricter rules for how personal data is collected and used by companies. The debate around surveillance and privacy also prompted many tech companies to strengthen their security measures, offering more transparent data protection policies to users. Snowden's leaks sparked global conversations about digital rights, and many civil liberties organizations have credited him with bringing issues of privacy to the forefront of public discussion. Today, Edward Snowden lives in Russia, having been granted permanent residency after his temporary asylum was extended. While still facing charges of espionage and theft in the U.S., he has become an outspoken advocate for digital freedom and privacy rights. He continues to speak at conferences, write op-eds, and participate in public debates about the ethical use of technology in modern society. Though his future remains uncertain, Snowden's influence on global discussions about surveillance and privacy is undeniable. Many view him as a whistleblower who sparked a much-needed global dialogue about the balance between security and liberty in the digital age. Edward Snowden's leaks have had a profound impact on global attitudes toward privacy and state surveillance. His revelations forced governments, businesses, and individuals to rethink the way personal data is handled and how much trust should be placed in government surveillance programs. The global surveillance debate has continued to evolve, with citizens increasingly questioning how much power governments should have over their private lives. Snowden's actions are a reminder that the fight for privacy and civil liberties is ongoing in an increasingly digital world. Ultimately, his legacy serves as a powerful example of how a single individual can spark monumental change, challenging the status quo and prompting societies to re-evaluate their values in the face of new technological challenges. Edward Snowden's actions have sparked intense debate around the globe. Some see him as a courageous whistleblower who risked everything to expose widespread government overreach, while others view him as a traitor who jeopardized national security. It's a question that divides opinion and challenges our understanding of privacy, security, and the rights of citizens in the digital age. Now, we want to hear from you. Do you believe Snowden's revelations were justified, or do you think the risks he took were too great? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective on this fascinating and complex story.